Oh, thank you very much, my brother. I hope you can see me. I'm sorry I had to divert and also join in late. We have a situation. My offices are next to the famous Kololo airstrip, and whenever the green truck is in place or in position, it's very difficult to navigate. So I've had to actually turn around several times, and I am now seated in a restaurant somewhere, trying to be able to do this. So I apologize for coming late, but yeah, we need to work on our potholes, but also we need to work on facilities where these events can happen and not inconveniencing us. But that aside, I just wanted to say I'm very excited to be invited to speak to entrepreneurs, especially considering a topic that I think we're all very interested in at the moment, but also a topic I'm passionate about. I have been in the industry for over 12 to 13 years. And I mean, it's an industry I have come to really appreciate over time. A little bit of my background, I have worked in the oil and gas sector for some time. I did some work on the policies and regulations, local content, conversations, and all of these things that we believe were pertinent in regard to this oil and gas story. I have also, during the same time, supported with the conversations and the negotiations with the discussions around the pipeline in the beginning phase. That is when we were discussing it with Kenya until we got into Tanzania. But I've also been at the forefront of these local content conversations for some time now. So I'm very privileged that we can be speaking about this. Right now, I am at Stanbic, where I am the chief executive of the Business Incubator, and we are pretty much mandated to support businesses to become more resilient, but also look and tap into these opportunities in the oil and gas sector. So I'm very excited to be speaking on this topic. So allow me to share my screen, and I hope it will come on easily. I know we are tired of hearing this question. We've been hearing it for years and years. Can you see my screen? But I'll ask Ronald if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can. Yes, we can.
Okay, so forget the date on this presentation. It's very valid. It speaks to everything that's happening today and everything that's been happening in the last 6 months. So what we're looking at, and again, I need to ask the question of if you know what we're looking at. But this is what we're looking at in terms of what we're dealing with, the numbers or the numbers game. It's an integrated oil and gas project. And this is, we're looking at about 15 to 20 billion US dollars spent. Now, that's money that has never, fallen into this economy at one single point or at a go. And in this project, where we see the key sponsors being the Uganda government, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, UNOC, the Uganda National Oil Company, Total, and Sinuk, you have two major projects, Tilenga and Kingfisher. And of course, you have the Uganda National Oil Company projects, which are government projects as well. Now, as you're aware, for many of you who are probably not aware, we had our FID, which is the final investment decision last year. In February. And after that, of course, we had the initiation of activities. And for many of you who probably know a bit about the sector, there was a point where we hardly knew what was going on. Everyone was asking the question of, when is this opportunity coming? And again, for many who were not preparing themselves, or many people who were not prepared, they ended up being shocked when this activity happened. But FID happened, and now activity is moving, it's ongoing. So the question is, are you ready to tap into these opportunities as the train is moving? I was in Masaka recently speaking to the businesses along the pipeline, and the question was, Echigali Chitambude. Are we on the Chigali, or we are running after the Chigali? And as you know, a train, when the train gains momentum, sometimes it's difficult to jump on. So the question is, are you ready, or have you jumped onto that train already? So you have a 1,400 kilometer pipeline, and this is a heated pipeline going all the way from Hoima, a place called Kabale in Hoima, down to the the Tanzanian side, the Tanga coast. Now, this project is a heated pipeline and a refinery, and this is all about route to market, getting the route out to the market. Capacity that we are looking at, or a daily capacity that we're looking at when we get to the peak point, will be about 200,000 barrels per day. That's a fairly good amount, but of course not in comparison with anything that is done in Nigeria or any of these other countries that do close to 1 million barrels per day. The economic impact, it's approximately 20 billion investment over the next 4 years. Now, I must say, 1 year is pretty much gone. So where are you, or where is your preparedness as an SME? Now, Ugandan economy is set to double, and this is a fact because you have all this money coming in, money to support these activities. You'll have all these guys coming in to work in these projects. That is people and activities and services getting involved or getting loaded into our economy. Projected jobs, we're looking at close to 14,000 direct jobs, indirect jobs of about 45,000, and subcontracted jobs about 105K. So altogether, you're looking at about 150,000 jobs created. These are induced jobs now, and I'll explain that a bit further, but the direct jobs are jobs that are in direct connection with the activity. Your drillers, your guys on site who are working daily, on a daily, to make sure things are happening. The indirect jobs are the jobs that support the direct jobs. And then you, of course, have the induced jobs. Now, these are like in the insurance sector, the banking sector, and so on and so forth. Jobs which are created as a result of the direct and indirect jobs. Now, if you have been along the Uganda-Tanzania corridor, and I would implore you to try and look out for ways in which your business can tap into these places, you'll find that there's a lot of opportunity that is set to happen or set to come up in these places, all the way from Hoima, Chankwanzi, Gomba, Sembabule, Ruengo, Rakai, Chotera. All of these are amazing areas that you need to be, asking yourselves if your businesses are, put a foot on the ground. So again, another opportunity, and that's just about the economic impact. Cross-sector impact, roads have been created. I know in Kampala we are struggling with our pothole story, but if you look at the oil and gas area or the oil and gas activity areas, perfect roads have been created to make this possible. Make this project possible. Over 1,000 fiber optic cabling in place. And again, we're also looking at importation of equipment, looking at trucks, which will also be used for the time, and then also the bulk material that will be used around the time. Now, we cannot, and I know I saw the adverts that were talking about the economic impact and the social impact and all of these things. I just want to make it very clear that all work is being undertaken by all the players to make sure that we follow the right rules and regulations and guides to make things happen the right way. And I'm glad that this has also been taken into consideration just to make sure that the project doesn't have a negative impact on the people. So location of the upstream projects and the midstream projects, there you go. You have the Albertine area, which is an area in Western Uganda. And this area has the Tilenga project and the Kingfisher project, all the way from, the Nyoya district area down to the Hoima Chikube area. And then, of course, the pipeline, which will be moving all the way from Kabale all the way to the Indian Ocean. For the East African crude pipeline, this is an idea of what it is. Now, many of you might be wondering, what's the pumping station needed for? What's the pumping station about? The pumping station is really needed for the benefit of pushing that oil out. Our oil is very waxy. It's pretty much like shoe polish. For some of you who've never engaged or seen what it's like, it's pretty much like shoe polish. So ideally, you need a pumping station, some of them which will be heated to be able to push this oil out into the fields. The estimated investment, and now I just want to break this down. You have an upstream investment of about 5.5 to 6 billion US dollars. That's the estimated field development. And as you can see, you have the northern Bulisa fields, you have the southern fields in Kaisotonia, and of course the Kingfisher area. Then you have, of course, what we call a central processing facility. You have the northern one and the southern one. Now, how this will be happening is that from the fields, oil will be moving into the central processing facilities, where it will then get pumped to the refinery or to the export pipeline. So part of it will go to the export pipeline, part of it to the refinery, and from the refinery, it will definitely, of course, go into storage stations like the one in Buloba, which is being done by the government of Uganda, and then of course, the export pipeline, which will be going into Tanga. But also, I want you to take keen interest in the opportunities that could arise out of the international airport. We have an international airport that is being set up in Kabale. Okay, this is in Hoima. This international airport is pretty much the size of Entebbe Airport and will be doing a lot of movement of goods and services. So it will be important for you to see how you can actually get yourself involved in that. Now, let's go to the point that I know you are all looking for and wanting to know what's happening or where the money is and where you should invest. Total investment in the oil and gas sector, I have mentioned, is close to 20 billion US dollars. And that is over a 5-year period, 4 to 5 year period, or 3 to 5 year period. 30% of the investment is to be done onshore. That's in Uganda, in the country, in the area. Okay. And then, of course, you have areas that are going to benefit from this, and you have the public sector, power infrastructure, industrials, oil and gas support services, financial institutions, and consumer. So, where is your business in all of this setup here? Are you in transportation? Because transportation is looking at 40 to 60 million US dollars. Are you in real estate? 200 to 300 million US dollars. The amount of people who are coming into this country is going to cause a huge shock to our real estate economy. Airline industry, transport and logistics, 150 to 200 million. Bulk material, steel, cement, civil works and construction, water, airport. But let's just now move into the production areas or supports areas, which I believe you are in. Fuel wholesale, facility management, pipeline, refinery, or waste management. All of these are opportunities for you to look at. But one area that I always think we always forget or tend to ignore, the food area. All of these guys need to eat. They need to eat quality food. They need to have food every day. 235 million just on food. And of course, catering, about 200 million. So where have you set your industry, or where have you put your business to be able to jump into this? Now, I'll just dive into the national content policy. You see, unlike so many countries, Nigeria, Ghana, or whatever, as a country, as Uganda, we decided to set in place regulations and laws to guide our sector. And this was to protect you, the Ugandan business. So in Uganda, we have the national content regulations and the national content laws. And in the national content and its promotion, it's really important to understand that the Act pushes for a lot of local content. So giving preference to goods and services produced or available in Uganda before they're given to any other foreign national. Goods and services not available in Uganda should be provided by a company that has entered into a joint venture with a Ugandan business, okay? And that is, of course, not less than 48%. So it's very important for you to understand that. The other one, of course, is the aim of this policy is to really build the capacity of our local nationals, but also local businesses. Now, I know there's a controversy over the definition of a local company, and this is something that we have had over and over and over. But the truth is, it is still difficult to contextualize what this kind of company is. But a Ugandan company is defined as a company that provides value addition to Uganda, uses available local raw materials, employs at least 70% of Ugandans, and is approved by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Now, this is a map of the areas that you can tap into. Now, as you can see, there are areas with high benefits, but are complex in feasibility, in terms of feasibility. And there are areas with low benefits, but easy feasibility. Now, if you look at the areas red, I'm sorry if my colors are not right, but the red area, you will notice that the red area is an area which is very technical, has high benefits, but is very technical. So it's very difficult for many local Ugandans or local players to get involved. The other one is the blue area with which is on the right, which is on the complex side. Here you have the engineering, oil equipment, drilling services, drilling equipment. This is still technical, and this goes for businesses that are like the Schlumbergers or the Halliburtons and the Baker Hughes and all of these guys. Very difficult for a typical Ugandan to get into. But of course, some are now trying to get their hands in there. The easiest areas to get into are site safety, security, facility management, catering. But the problem with these, though, is that there is not so much opportunity there. The benefits are very low as compared to the areas in green. Now, the areas in green are areas with high benefits or high potential. And on top of the high benefits and high potential, there's an opportunity for Ugandans to make a killing, all the way from mechanical construction services to work safety products, wholesale, production, operational activities, civil construction, bulky materials, food supply. I mean, this is an area where a lot of opportunity can actually be derived from. So where is your business in this conversation, and how ready are you to tap into this? Are you on the national supplier database? Because it is a fact and a known truth that you can only supply the oil and gas sector if you are on the national supplier database. So is your business ready? Now, at the Business Incubator, that's what we do. We support you getting your business to a point where you are on the database and you're able to supply. And we have great stories of over 30 businesses that have over 500,000 US dollar contracts. 500,000 US dollar contracts. Now, what is your business doing to get into or to tap into this? The other thing is, that I want to talk about is the national content considerations and looking at the upstream and midstream value chain. You remember when I talked about the direct jobs, indirect, and the induced jobs. Now, if you look at this circle here, if you look at the lighter part, which is the inside of the circle, those are the direct opportunities. When you look at the areas which are out of that circle, those are the indirect opportunities that are derived out of that. And then if you look at the outer circle, the outer ring, those are the induced opportunities that are actually coming out of this story. So where is your business in this conversation? Are you having the right conversations? Are you in the right networks? There's an East African oil and gas conference that's happening next month, and we are privileged to be part of it as the Stanbic Business Incubator. Are you coming into those sessions to network and see how far your business can tap into these opportunities? Or are you waiting are you waiting for an advert in the paper or in the press telling you that it's time for you to get in there? So there's lots of opportunities, and for Ugandans, I want you to remember that they are ring-fenced opportunities for us. Ring-fenced, meaning that they are meant for you as a Ugandan. From the areas of bulk material and cement, steel, civil works and construction, logistics, camp services, security, environmental social impact assessments, land surveying, human resource management, drilling consumables, fuel and office supplies, ICT, and many more. There is a lot of opportunity. So these are things that you need to tap into. And I know there are challenges. And I know we all face challenges. And I know your businesses face challenges. I know Ronald will probably not say this, but the truth is, many of our local businesses have failed to really understand how important it is to be critical and serious about this oil and gas sector. Number one, standards are very important. We, or the sector, does not allow a deviation in standards. So standards are very important. Number two, inadequate infrastructure. We're struggling with infrastructure to make things happen. Just yesterday, I was listening into Radio 1 where the traders are actually protesting, or the Casita traders are protesting their licenses because of the potholes. So infrastructure is making it difficult for them to, do business. Then, of course, limited business knowledge and networks. And I guess this is why we're here. This is why we're having this conversation. Creating networks, creating conversations that can get you out there. I implore you, I advise you, I encourage you to come over, get onto our supply development program at the Business Incubator, and we can support you. Then, of course, challenges of accessing credit, because credit is one of those things that is so tricky for many guys. And the more we try and discuss this, is really understanding the need for us to make this possible for local players. So there might be an opportunity, there might be a lot happening, but the big issue is the kind of funding. This is a very capital intensive sector. So you have to have the right capital to support you. But I must say, we have all of that in place to support you. So all I'm saying today is there's great opportunity out there, guys. There's a lot of opportunity that we need to tap into. If this is an elephant, it's a huge elephant, and no one or no singular person can actually eat anything. And I always say, better enjoy the tail of the elephant than not enjoy anything at all, because you are sitting back and waiting for the right time. Like I always say, the time is now. This is the best time to start. This is the best time to get your business ready. Come, let's share ideas with you. Let's share what you need to get yourself into the industry, and let's make this happen for you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your questions, and I think the questions will bring in, more responses from my side. But I look forward to your questions. Ronald, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tony, for that insightful discussion. I like the last bit, at least have a piece of the tail. And I think you have shown that this is a very big elephant with a number of pieces that a bit of people can chew on. So it's always an exciting thing to see the possibility. But as you have also rightly mentioned, oil is still a kind of an opaque subject. Many people believe possibly I can't get in. But I think you have broken it down for us that it's possible for all of us to, in a way, participate in this big elephant that we have. So we have an opportunity now to ask a couple of questions. I'll give an opportunity to those who have it. You could just put up your hand. I'll let you speak, and you can ask, or you can put your question in the chat box, and Tony can be able to respond. I believe a lot of the conversation will fall around there. I think Rosalind has already put a question there. When and where is the oil conference going to take place? Tony, you will share that with us. Geoffrey Mutabazi, Geoffrey, please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you so much, Ronald. Hi, Tony. Nice to meet you again. Are there any renewable energy opportunities in the oil industry? So I know there's a lot of ESG focus nowadays for companies, and despite the fact that you're mining oil, you kind of have to do it sustainably. But do you see any opportunities in the renewable energy space, or in renewable energy or sustainable energy that could be applied to the oil industry? And are there any specific ones that you could share, or specific use cases that you could share?
Great. Thanks a lot, Geoffrey. We'll take a couple more, and then I'll hand back to Tony. Charles, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ronald, and thank you, presenter. I have an agricultural related company, and recently I am on the national supplier database. So I wanted to ask the presenter, now that my company is on the national supplier base, and what do you think I can now do? What are the next steps I need to do so that I start getting the tail of the elephant? Thank you so much, Ronald.
Thank you, Charles. I think if you are on the national database, you may even get a piece of the leg. Many people are not even on the database at all. Tony, I hope you captured that question. Bira, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, thank you, organizer. I'm Bira Bosa, the chairperson of Confederation of Micro and Small Enterprise Organization, and also chairman Katwe Small Scale Industry Development Association. My question is concerning with the welders. I understand this sector needs many welders. And when I look at the welding sector, in Uganda, we have many who are having the international certificate. In fact, I had a chance that we had some bit of assessment. We went to Yuri, they assessed the people of Katwe, and they recommended that at least the people of Katwe needs just 3 months to be trained to get the welding certificate, the international one, which is required for that job of the oil sector. Unfortunately, we don't get a chance to be recruited. And again, if you look at the way how they are recruiting, like those international institutions which train people to get the international welding certificate are very few. I'm worried that by the time you start, you'll have few welders and you'll have to import others from outside, when we have the potential even to raise more than 4,000 welders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bira. Very, very straightforward question, Mwami Bosa. I'll take John and Martin, and then I'll ask Tony to answer, and we'll take another round. John Paul?
Sir.
John Paul, please go ahead.
Yes.
I think unmute.
Yes, good morning, everyone. John Paul from Job Engineering Group. My question is regarding these ISO standards. Recently, I heard that there's this ISO 45001, and we are working on getting it. But again, I also heard there is also another ISO 18001. But then some others saying it's not needed, the ISO 45001. So I would like Mr. Tony to help me and elaborate more on that. And trust we are so passionate in joining the oil and gas sector. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony and Mr. Ronald. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John Paul. Please, I think, Tony, you can take that round of questions, and then we can have another round.
Thank you very much, Ronald. I'll start with the first question. When and where is the oil and gas conference? The East African Oil and Gas Conference is going to be at Serena. It is on the 9th and 11th of May. So that's in about, say, 2 to 3 weeks. So that's Serena Hotel, 9th to 11th of May. And here you'll be able to network with a lot of industry players, not just in Uganda or from Uganda, but East African industry players and those abroad. A great opportunity for you as well to network and get the right contacts to be able to elevate your business. Now, you might be interested in an area, but you are not, like my brother John Paul just said, probably certified or all of these things, but there are international businesses that are coming here to look for partners. So it's a great opportunity to partner with them. And while you partner with them in that joint venture of yours, you are styling up your business. You are getting your certification. You are learning from the best. You are having transfer of knowledge and skills from that company to your company. And I think that's something that you need to think about. The other thing that, the other question that came out was renewables in the oil and gas sector. I know that there's going to be a lot of emphasis on using solar and renewable energy to do or support the pumping stations and many of these activities. But also, if you go into a lot of these activity areas, you'll notice that renewable energy, like solar especially, is being used to do a lot. So I think for me, this is a starting point. This can be best answered by the guys as well who are within the industry and running their own projects. But I know for a fact that a lot of solar energy and renewables will be used in the camps and also in the pumping station. So that's, I think, a plus in that line. For the National Supply Database, Charles asked, he's in the National Supply Database. But you see, Charles, I'll equate your situation to being that of saying you have entered a bus, you have paid for a ticket, you paid a ticket and you are in the bus, but the bus is not moving and you don't even know where the bus is moving. It's very important for you to understand that by being on the National Supply Database is a great opportunity. Yes, it's a great point, but you have to network. Now, where are you networking from? Or who are you networking with? Who are you having conversations with? You're in the agriculture space, which is great. We have an agriculture program where we're dealing with different off-takers, Pure Grow Africa and several others. And in these conversations with these off-takers, we are asking them, what are your standards for the food that you desire for the cows? How can we supply you, or how can we make sure that, one, you have the right quantity and the right quality? Now, in all of this, this is now where now you find the whole conversation around networking coming to life. So I think, yes, you're in the National Supplier Database, well done to you, but you need to network. You need to engage with a lot of these businesses that are on there. But also, since you're in the National Supplier Database, look out for companies that are within your sector. Ask to meet with them. Ask to see how you can actually create and have synergies that you can actually have to enhance, your business. Because again, remember, like we always say, the more the merrier. If you do it in groups and associations or in unison with other people, you are able to tap into your, the different expertise, but also opportunities that come your way. So network, network, network. There's the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. There's the Association of Uganda Oil and Gas Service Providers. There's the Business Incubator, where we have a supply development program where you have a lot of businesses that are within the oil and gas space coming to train. Just network. What I've seen, and from what we have seen over time, is that most of the businesses that come into the incubator always end up getting into a relationship with one another and performing tasks as a consortium. Meaning, you are coming together to take on an opportunity. The beauty about that, guys, is that you are able to do so much. You're able to do so much. So I would encourage you, I would push for you to get into the networking points. Do not just be happy about being on the National Supplier Database. It's not just a guarantee that because you read the Bible, you're going to heaven. That is just reading the Bible. You have to do more to be able to get to heaven. My brother Bosa talked about the welders. I'm privileged to be one of the guys who did the first who supported the first welder training in Uganda. The first welder training was done by us while I was at Total ENP, and it was done in Rwengo by Q Sourcing at the time. Now, we got people who had never been to welding school. Some of them had never been to welding school. Some of them were welders before. And in 6 months, they were able to weld up to 4G. So you have 1G coded welding, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, up to 6G coded welding. Now, for many of you who do not know much about welding, or the standard that is accredited and preferred by the oil and gas sector is the American Welding Society standard, AWS. So your guy at Katwe might not cut it. Your guy at Katwe is probably not even a 1G coded welder. He's a Jua Kali welder. But the truth is, they can also be supported to become great welders. But the thing about that is that you have to do things the right way. The welding has to be done the right way. So getting yourself certified to that point is possible. And I think that is where we need a really crazy conversation about getting our young people on there. And again, when you talk about welders, you need to understand that welders come with what we call fitters. So you need a welder, you need a fitter. And how many fitters do we have in Uganda who are trained to the international standard or the oil and gas standard? So we need again to have that conversation. But I think this is also where now businesses like yours can lobby the government to think about our curriculum. Our technical curriculum in most of these BITFETs and technical institutions does not encourage such training or makes the training so lengthy. It's over 2 years before a person comes out to do, or to get into the field. So it's really about the curriculum that also has to be changed or enhanced. But like Bosa said, yes, we do have a flood of young people out there who can do the welding. We just need us to be intentional about getting them trained. But also remember, oil and gas welding is not cheap. It doesn't come cheap. The cost of material, the cost of the trainers, the cost of the whole exercise, it's a very, very expensive exercise. So it's very important for you to understand that you will have to put that into consideration. For John Paul, who talked about ISO standards, well, I'll be very honest with you. Sometimes you don't need all of these ISO standards. Sometimes you need them. But it's important, again, like I said, to network and go find out from the industry or the entity you want to support and seek to understand if those standards are necessary. You'll end up sometimes burning your fingers or wasting your money going in for standards which are not necessary. For instance, if you think about food standards and then you go in for international crazy standards, all we need are just the East African food standards. Okay, So you need to ask yourself the question of what standards are needed. And again, that's where you have to step out of your offices or your workplace, go to the industry, find out, go to Petroleum Authority, find out from them. There are guys who deal with these regulations on a full time. Go to Uganda National Bureau of Standards. I was privileged to support on a lot of standards during my time at Total. I supported with the standards on the heavy good vehicles, scaffolding, food standards, and personal protective equipment. And you'll find that these standards are actually not rocket science, you know. It's just because people talk about them and you are thinking, oh my God, this is so technical. It isn't technical. They are actually basic. So it's about going out to find out for your company, for your business, if those standards actually matter or what standards actually matter for your business. And then you focus on that. Don't just do anything just because people are saying it is what it is. This sector is really precise and information is key. And having the right networks, the right conversations will take your business far. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Yes, Martin, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello. Thank you, Mukasa and Tontimu and Enterprise Uganda. But my concern, yes, for the short-term opportunity, I can see there is a potential in oil and gas. But with the current focus on green energy preservation, focusing on electric powered systems, what is the future? What is the long-term opportunity in oil and gas? Thank you.
Super. Thank you so much. That's from Martin. We are seeing a lot of narrative around a greener economy, and I think, Tony, you will help us paint a picture, because some have feared that oil is coming to an end. But Tony, you help us paint a picture for that. Please do raise your hand if you have a question. Let me check the chat box to pick out the ones which we have there. Rosalind Akol says, on the local content, will there be some of the multinational companies participating in oil and gas registering on the Uganda Stock Exchange? Yes, that's from Rosalind Akol. Thank you, Rosalind, for that question. Charles Okidi asks, we are in the construction industry. How can we partner? How can we partner so our companies can grow to higher levels? Good. Then Albert asks, how do I join the Stanbic Incubator program as an entrepreneur who is looking to seize opportunities? Great. That is from, that's a question from Albert. Then we also have a question from Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer asks about the details of the oil convention. What are the costs related and any other requirements to be able to participate? Can you join virtually or physically? Great. Catherine asks, what guidance do you have for companies interested in food sector, especially convenience foods? How do we get the networks with others in the food industry? Yes, how do we network? That's a question which has kind of kept coming up. I don't see any hands. If you have a question, please do put up your hand and then I'll give you a chance. Tony, I think in the meantime, you can possibly address these questions. I will add one on you talked about the question of joint ventures. I think possibly to build on a question which was asked earlier, are there any networking platforms, matchmaking platforms? Is that something which you're doing at the incubator where you can be able to meet some of these potential investors, especially in light of the fact that many businesses will need to actually run joint ventures? So you can help us paint a picture there and see how we can be able to grow through the joint venture perspective. Then please advise on the eligibility and criteria for joining the SBI cohort being advertised. Yes, Tony, I'll hand back to you.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those questions. Let me just start off with the long-term opportunity. Look, first of all, you need to understand one thing. Like I mentioned before in the presentation, this is an opportunity for the next 3 to 4, 5 years. Okay. So if you're doing your business and you're doing it well, just find a way of doing it well to support this oil and gas industry and make sure that even when it goes, your business is still thriving. So let's not just think of oil and gas, oil and gas, oil and gas, but just think of, I mean, if you're a printer, for instance, you're a printing business, think about how to support the oil and gas business the best way you can, and also think about how to sustain this beyond the oil and gas sector. So I'm not saying that we should think of the oil and gas sector as a magic bullet to our future. We should think about it as an opportunity that is now, but think about how we can use it to rise above that after the 5 years. Because again, this is a finite resource. What happens is, and let me probably explain the oil and gas cycle. You're going to have what we call right now the construction phase. In the next 3 years or 2 years and a half, you're going to get to what we call the peak phase. When you get to the peak phase, this is when everything is super busy. And after the peak phase, we start declining to the point where we get to the first oil. Now, when we get to the first oil production, we now begin what we call a plateau phase. It's a flat phase. There, in what you would have considered about 13,000 people at peak, you will only need about 2,500 to 3,000 people. Meaning, less opportunity now, and only sectors that are really worthwhile will be still in place or still in shape. So don't overly invest. Be strategic in how you invest. This is a very, very crazy time. But also, let's appreciate that what we're dealing with in the oil and gas sector in Uganda is just 40% of the opportunity here. New oil fields have been opened up for exploration. UNOC just recently with Sinop took on the new block, which is Kasurabani. Kasurabani offers a new opportunity that we saw in Uganda 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when Talo had just come in or Hartman Energy had just come in. So do not worry. There's a lot of opportunity, but think of your business in a strategic way. So long-term opportunities, agriculture. Agriculture. I mean, if you have an airport at Kabare, which is slightly bigger or the size of Entebbe Airport, it's going to have several big aeroplanes landing with goods and equipment and tourists. What do these aeroplanes go back with? Food. Food. So there's a huge opportunity for agriculture. But also the labor that we are creating, the manpower that we are creating, there's a huge opportunity for that labor to be used or utilized anywhere else in the East African region. Tanzania is crazily exploiting its natural resources, gas and all of these things. So the people that we're training and creating and having into these jobs, once those jobs decline, they have an opportunity to cross through the East African economy to provide their labor. Same thing for our businesses. We can also do the same. So I think there are long-term opportunities, but like I said in the beginning, let's just not think oil and gas, oil and gas, oil and gas. Let's strategically think about how our businesses can support the sector, but still sustainably focus on beyond the oil and gas sector. Now, about oil and gas coming to an end, I don't think so. You see, oil and gas is still around. Economies around the world, especially economies that are growing at a huge rate, India, China, these economies require and need gas. They need oil. So it's going to be very difficult for us to say that in the next 5, 10 years, all of this is going. No, it is still around. We just have to think about utilizing it and doing it in a clean manner that it doesn't, mess up the environment. So it's still around. And again, there is also a huge conversation about how to deal this with the renewable energy and all of these other green energy conversations to make it a worthwhile conversation. But let me just also make you laugh. The US and the UK today have opened up new oil and gas exploration activities. Why? You would imagine that they're all going green. So I think it would be wrong for us to just belittle ourselves and say, Africa or Uganda shouldn't be doing this, should be going green. And yet the people who are actually pushing us to do this are actually still opening up oil and gas fields. So it's still around, and the need for it for our development and our needs is still evident. So until we get to that point, I think for now we can still see oil and gas in our economies. The registration on the Uganda Securities Exchange, I think this is really to the discretion of the businesses. I can't really speak for them. I can't really speak for their shareholders who are international shareholders. But I think we should implore our local businesses to be able to get onto the USE as a way of mobilizing capital. I think for me, it's not even about the foreign businesses. Are we as local businesses understanding that it's important for us to get capital from ourselves or mobilize capital amongst ourselves? Our poor culture in Uganda is ka business kange. If I went to a call and I said, a call, I want a piece of your business and I will give you, just give me some equity and I will give you 300 million so we can actually take this business further. A call would probably tell me, Otoa, the problem is, this is my business. I've seen it grow. I can't, do much about it. So it's very, very important for us to understand that we have to be able to understand that we have to do this ourselves. We have to do this ourselves. We have to work on doing it ourselves. Huh? So we have to mobilize capital ourselves. If I talk about USE, are we doing it ourselves to support our businesses as Ugandans, or do we have to wait for foreign businesses to be able to tap into that? So we need to also think about alternative forms of capital, alternative sources of capital. You see, I keep telling people that there are so many opportunities for alternative sources of capital, which can come from either equity or venture capital funds or, angel investments and all of this. But how ready are you as a Ugandan business person to take on this opportunity? Are you understanding and going out to deliberately seek other opportunities that can enhance your businesses in terms of gaining capital? So that's a very, very important thing. Now, that I leave to you, but about the USC conversation, I think that comes back to we Ugandans. Are we also ready to get our businesses onto the USE, the Uganda Stock Exchange? Are we doing whatever it takes to show that our businesses can grow and get to that point? I'll interest you by saying that most businesses in Europe, in fact, close to 90% of the businesses in Europe do not go to banks as traditional lending entities. They look out for equity. They look out for sources of capital that are, outside that realm. So what are you doing for your business? I'll leave that to you. How to partner? How to partner is very simple. How visible are you to the partner? How networked are you? Are you networking? Are you in the right places to seek out the right partners? When you are looking out, or when you go out to these oil and gas conferences, are you going out to look out for the people who actually flow with your business and are within the same realm? That's the easiest way you can partner. That's the easiest way you can know people who are actually doing the same thing that you're doing. And that's the easiest way that you can actually build your business. So partnering is really about networking. Get out, network, and find the right partners who can work with you. The other thing is as well, go to the National Supply Database. It's ranked or it's filed up in categories. Look out for what category you are in and what category you can work with. That way, you will be able to know who you can partner with. How to join the Stanbic Business Incubator? It's a very simple process, and I think I will allow my brother Ronald to leave my details, my email. I'll share with you a link. This link you can actually share with your friends as well. It will be a link that you'll have to use to register for the upcoming cohorts, and it's a very easy process. And I think I'll just tie this answering to the eligibility for Stanbic Business Incubator. So we have actually taken into consideration lowering our eligibility, considering the fact that many businesses have been struggling from the COVID times, where we have been looking at over 3 years of operations and having a high turnover, or a turnover rather, of about $30,000 US and so on and so forth. We've kind of like eased that up. So register, and we'll be able to look at your business and support you the best way we can. So just register. My link will be, or my address or my emails will be shared by Ronald, and this can be used for your benefit. The other thing that came up was details of the oil and gas convention. Again, I will share these details with Ronald, and he can share them with the team and the group. But I would also encourage you to visit the Ministry of Energy website. All of these details are on there, how to register and who to register with. And I encourage you to go to this conference and exhibition. You will love it. You will love it. This is one of a kind. It rotates in East Africa. And as it rotates around East Africa, this is Uganda's time to host it after several years away. So it's a great opportunity for you to engage. Guidance on convenience food. Now, I'll tell you one thing. We talk about standards. We talk about all of these things, but I'll tell you that a truck driver might not need all of those crazy robust standards that we need. When Tony Otoa goes to Hoima, he's probably looking for a great food place to have a nice meal. He's not looking at, going into an ISO standardized entity or facility. So think about serving whatever tier of customer you're thinking about. Visit Hoima, visit Bulisa, visit these areas, look at it for yourself. It's one thing to talk about business opportunities and to speculate in Kampala, and it's another thing for you to just drive down to the Albertine and see what it's like. You will be amazed. You will be amazed. So I can tell you for a fact that there's so much opportunity out there. And when it comes to food, with the number of people who are going out there, entertainment, with the number of people who are going out there, there's a huge opportunity. Take a drive, meet people there, have a conversation with people. You will actually find that there's a lot of opportunity. I'll tell you for a fact that a lot of the food that comes into Hoima is actually out of the Albertine or Bunyoro region. We have struggled to get farmers to create or produce the quantity and volumes needed. So most of the food is got from outside. And this is why it's important for you to go and see where you can actually tap in. Joint ventures and matchmaking platforms. We have a couple of those at the Business Incubator, but I will also encourage you again to get back into these networking forums, Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, Association of Uganda Oil and Gas Service Providers. But again, the incubator has a great platform for that. I would encourage you to join in and make use of that. Joint ventures and matchmaking platforms, I think I've mentioned that. Eligibility, I think I've talked about that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, super. I think we may have time for just one more round. If there are a couple of other questions, please go ahead and put up your hand and ask. I have a couple in the chat box, which I will share again. I think you answered the one on food. There's a question here. Robert says, opportunity for the next 3 to 5 years, currently at the exploration and readiness of for the production phase. What business opportunities do exist for Juakali and formal businesses? How do we align social investment groups hype to other opportunities in the immediate future? Possibly, Tony, as you share on this, it may help to there is that the slide you had with different colors of the opportunities at the different levels. I think that would be interesting to reiterate. How is the industry fending off the bad publicity, whereby EU was trying to force Total France to stop funding the pipeline? Yes, that's Rosalind's question. Definitely, I think a couple of months ago, this was one of the things, and towards the end of the last year, we saw a lot of this publicity out there. So Tony, you could also touch on Rosalind's question. Tony, one other question which I had, which I think is quite important, is this process of, you talked about having a drive down to the Albertine region. I just wanted you to share a bit more about some of the low-hanging fruits you see on the road. If I'm an entrepreneur here in Kampala, why should I jump on the bus and go and see what is happening? What are those big changes that have happened? I know for sure many people who haven't been to the Hoima region may not, rather the Albertine region may not even appreciate how the road infrastructure has changed by miles. I know I traveled there recently, and It's fascinating how the roads even look like. But I just want you to speak a bit more to that. What do you see down when you're on the ground? I know you travel the country quite a bit. You also mentioned the fact that this Albertine region starts all the way up from Moya, which is in the Acholi sub-region. So how do you see this this opportunity? And does that mean the opportunities are only along the Albertine region, or there are opportunities which are in other parts of the country which are tied directly to this opportunity that has broken? The second bit which I wanted you to talk about was the airport. You said it is as big as Entebbe currently. It's an international airport. I wanted you to paint a picture for what it means to have an international airport in a certain location. Does that mean that some people will be transiting from there for their international journeys? If I'm traveling and I'm not in the oil industry, I will be using that as my exit point. And what low-hanging fruits do you see happening? I do know that airports come with many services, but they also open us up to the rest of the world. What opportunities do you see there?
Thank you very much, Ronald, for those questions. Let me just first go into the airport conversation, because I think for me this is a very interesting one. We've been asked by the Uganda National Oil Company to support on the facilitation and enactment of the agribusiness zone, which is about, say, 50 hectares. That's the Stanbic Business Incubator, and I'm privileged to be part of that team that's working on this. And I'll tell you one thing for a fact. It's a huge opportunity for pushing out food. So much opportunity for pushing out food to the international markets. I don't know if you've looked at the current trends out of Rwanda, but the food that they pushed out to China and to the EU, when you're talking about horticultural products and all of these things, you will realize that we have a great opportunity as a country to be able to do that. If small Rwanda can do that, and they can and they can bring together or bring in crazy volumes of foreign, foreign exchange, just from doing that to different economies, why can't we do it as a country? So that airport offers that opportunity. So in there, we're setting up a massive cold room storage area. We're sorting out food zones. We're sorting out small value additions industries that can actually support this sector. So it's a good one. It's really, really a good one. So that's an opportunity there. But also that airport, I don't know if you have had a chance to go there, is very close to DRC. In fact, if your plane moves just 30 seconds out of the airport, you're in DRC. So you can imagine the business that will come in from DRC, especially Eastern DRC. So there's so much opportunity there. But then also tourism. That airport is closer to any of our tourism sites, from Murchison to any of the Western sites, as compared to Entebbe Airport. Let's assume Tony Otoa is flying in from Canada and wants to go to Murchison Falls. He has to land at Entebbe Airport, then sleep probably in Kampala, take another day, a whole day, to travel all the way to Murchison. If I landed at Kabale Airport, in the next 1 hour, I'm at Murchison. So you can actually see the value when it comes to a lot of the touristic opportunities. So it has a lot of huge potential. So what does that mean for a business guy? What does that mean for businesses? Accommodation, food, entertainment, and any auxiliary services that can actually support the people that are working in this area. Because again, you can imagine the people that are going to come in to live in this situation or this area. So they need to be serviced. They need to be taken care of, wholesale, from consumer goods and all of these things. That's going to be an opportunity there. Nyoya, and whether this opportunity exists in other parts of the country. Let me take you back to our geography lessons. You know how a rift valley is formed. And a rift valley is formed by tectonic plates, kind of like diffusing from one another, or rather, tectonic action, which creates that movement, and pretty much how a rift valley is formed. Now, Our oil and gas story is around the rift areas. And that's why you'll see that along the Western Rift Valley area, which is the Albertine area, you'll find oil deposits. Same thing with the eastern side, which is in the Turkana area in Kenya. And that's why you see on the Kenya side, the oil and gas opportunities are around the Rift Valley area, the Turkana area, which is in the Rift. So that is a story about fossil fuels, and it comes from millions and millions of years of fossil decay and so on and so forth that creates this oil. And that is the story around the Rift Valley area. So if you even see the new exploration areas, some of them are within the Karamoja area, which is very close to Turkana, but some of them are again back around the Western Rift Valley, all the way from Arua, you coming down to Toroko area. So it's very important for you to understand that. So that is the story around this whole oil and gas story. If you're looking for oil, I don't think you'll find it in my place in Lira. Lira is not in the Rift Valley, so I don't think you could find it there. Or in your village, Ronald, somewhere in Buganda, I don't think you'll find it there. So that's the story around that. Low-hanging fruits as you drive to the Albertine. There are several. If you went to Hoima today, you'll struggle to find accommodation, decent accommodation. If you went to Bulisa, you struggle to find decent accommodation or decent places to actually, have a good time. That already is a low-hanging fruit. That already is a low-hanging fruit. If you are doing, that's why I always say, just go see it with your own eyes. Because if I preach to you about Mecca as a Muslim and you've never been to Mecca, all you have is just images of Mecca. But I want you to go to Mecca. Then you can come back and say, oh, people need handkerchiefs. I'll go back and take handkerchiefs and sell handkerchiefs in Mecca. That's how you can see these low-hanging fruits. But there are several areas. And I think the immediate areas are areas around hospitality, which is very, very crucial. The areas around food and any services that are needed by people on a daily basis. Consumer goods, all of these are your low-hanging fruits. Jua Kali and the social enterprises, I think again it's very important for you to go and see for yourself, because there are opportunities in that area, but I can't really speak out for many of them. What we have done on our end is to integrate your kind of Jua Kali guys into opportunities that are available by the businesses or for the businesses as their corporate social responsibility angles. So again, look out for these businesses that are already operating in the oil and gas space. What do they need to be able to operate? How do they need to be able to show that they are, caring for the communities where they are operating? That is how you can actually take in your Jua Kali conversations and your sustainability conversations that bring in the whole concept around social enterprises. So I hope that works. EU publicity. I can't really speak much for that, but I think we all see ourselves in a situation where after the Ukraine-Russia war started, the EU has also started getting into these oil and gas conversations, especially for gas and oil and gas. So I can't really speak much for that. I'm not an expert in that area. And I always say, if I do not know something, I don't like getting into it. I do not like speaking about it. I always say, always speak about what you really know. So I won't really get into that, but I'll just say that I think as Africa, as East Africa, as Uganda, we stand at a very important stage right now where we have this opportunity, an opportunity to change the lives of not just the people in the country, but the people within the region. And if it needs to be exploited in a sustainable way to make it worth it, I think this is the time now. And we have this for the next 4 to 5 years. And if it can support our growth in our economy and create a different economy for us, I think this is a good story. Thank you very much.
Super, great. Thank you so much, Tony. I was very disappointed that there is no oil in my village. I'll have to move. But for sure, I think you have helped us see that the opportunities are there. I think I'm with Tony on, I had an opportunity to travel to Arua, and I moved through a couple of the Albertine region as I went. And it's amazing how many things, Tony talks about accommodation, you could talk about a decent restaurant, you could talk about dry cleaning services, you could talk about all the wide array of services which may have to shift. So if you're running a business here, possibly if you're considering where do you want to open the next branch of your business, this may be an interesting region because of what is happening in there. You may find that there is a service which you're already doing quite well in Kampala that you can go and start doing I mean, entertainment is another big area. The point is that there is money going to be flowing into this area, and it's important that you tap into it, and that's what Tony has helped us explain. Tony, we just have about 5 minutes to go. I'll possibly pick Rosalind's final question and then allow you to also make any final remarks. Rosalind says, how much gas will be gotten from the mining? I don't know whether Rosalind I don't know whether Tony, you can, Rosalind's question is clear, but her question is how much gas will be gotten from the mining. Jennifer says, this has been a wonderful discussion with opportunities. Kindly share the recording. Yes, the recording will be shared on your emails. We'll also share a link to how you can access the Stanbic Incubator. The Stanbic Incubator, Tony and his team are doing amazing work to help a number of entrepreneurs walk into this space. There is a bit of hand-holding which is needed, and for us, it's a privilege as Enterprise Uganda to link up on this platform, so that those of you who can be able to access the Stanbic Incubator to be able to grow your businesses are able to do that. Tony, you'll possibly answer that final question and share with us your final remarks as we bring our discussion to a close.
Okay, so I think I'll just go into my final remarks, really. I think, it's a great opportunity that we have as a country, as Ugandans, and for you entrepreneurs particularly. We've always looked out for opportunities in different places, but I think this gives us an opportunity to, one, do business the right way. By just being on the NSD, the things that you have to do, meaning, you have to be URA compliant, NSSF compliant, and all of these things. It not only is a hard thing, but it helps your business style up. And the opportunities that can flow from just getting yourself ready in these and any other sectors is very evident. So I think let's use this opportunity to really, get our businesses to the right point and make it work. But number two is, I think we need to encourage our local businesses to get into understanding that working together is what will take you far. Our problem as Ugandans is we want to work in silos. Now, you can't work and can't survive in silos. We need to work together. I always laugh at my brothers in the transport sector who are always fighting for contracts. And I'm like, guys, if you came together, you brought your 20, 30, 40 trucks and put them together and worked in a consortium, you stand a high chance of winning the contract and you stand a high chance of making money. 10% of $1 million is better than 100% of 50 million. I leave that for you. Thank you very much.
All right, super. Thanks a lot. Wow, Safari, I see your hand up at this point. Safari, let me give you a minute to just make your comment as we bring this to a close.
Oh, thank you so much, Ronald. Thank you so much, Comrade Otoa. You never disappoint. It has been a great discussion and a great eye-opener. Maybe one thing that you mentioned about the fears of the Europeans and Americans who are refusing this exploitation of oil because they are always promoting electric oil, green energy. Of course, there are lots of hypocrisies there. But one confidence I can give you, yes, there was the company that I represent, Britam, had actually had also it had also been put into that spotlight for not taking on the insurance services for the oil and gas projects in Uganda, because, as you know, insurance works on the principle of reinsurers, and most of these reinsurers are European and American. So if they also say no, we can't actually take on such risks, But because of that case that was in France, they had halted. But right now, they have opened up because we have realized that, well, the feasibility studies have been made and Uganda has tried to do its best to make this sustainable and to keep it still green. So I think the opportunities are going to be there. Of course, we have to embrace insurance in whatever business that you're doing because it's a key aspect of all these kind of businesses. Yeah, with that said, I thank you so much for this opportunity and have a blessed ED celebration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Safari, for that comment and that addition. Tony, one thing you did talk about, and I know it wasn't part of your conversation, but I want to just take a minute to tell us a bit about the Ubuntu Leadership Safari. Those people who follow you see a lot about the Ubuntu Leadership Safari. So please just take 1 minute and tell us about it, and then we can wrap this up.
Thank you so much for allowing me to do that. You know, I always say there's a difference between a job and work. A job is what you do. You know, it's your 9 to 5. You know, you go, you clock in, and you work hard as a slave for this guy or any other guy. But your work is what you actually would do until the day you die. And I'm excited because Ubuntu is like our work. You know, what we're trying to do is to have virtuous leadership conversations, you know, and uplifting people in the best way possible. So it's really about personal growth and these leadership conversations that not only support you in your personal life, but also your business life. We talk about how to connect. It's a great network. We talk about how to do business better, but also how to show up. Now, some of you are talking about how to create partnerships, but also, you know, the art of creating partnerships is about how you show up in these partnerships and these conversations. So we are a group or a community of highly networked individuals who try to support one another free of charge to grow together. So it's Ubuntu. I am because of you, you are because of me. We all grow and rise together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I encourage all of you to follow Tony on Twitter and on LinkedIn. He speaks, and why I asked him to talk about Ubuntu is it's something which is constantly ongoing. They have a number of engagements, and it would be great to tap in and be able to grow together. As Tony has said, I am because you are, and you are because I am. At Enterprise Uganda, we're also having the Women Entrepreneurs, Women in Business 2023 Awards from the United Nations Conference for Trade and Development. Applications, you can come and fill in an application. These are women who have participated in our ETW and also who have over the last 7 years and who have an impact and are engaged in business in the community. This is an international award. We have had a couple of women who have won in the past from Uganda, and they went to Geneva to receive the award. So please apply if you are one such lady. Do get in touch with Noah Wandera, who is our team lead in our training department. Our deadline is 25th of April, so it's fast approaching. I'm going to ask Derek to post Noah's email address, and the link has also been shared in the chat box. Tony, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an honor. Thank you for the work which you're doing, both at your workplace, but also, as you have said, in the work which you actually do. We are very honored to have you. You have blessed us this morning. To the entrepreneurs, the journey continues. We have a job to do. We have to ensure that we harness these opportunities. At Enterprise Uganda, we believe that the entrepreneur is at the front line of solving the country's biggest challenges. Any household which you get into, you find a young person who is looking for a job. Any household which you look into, which you get into, there will be an economic challenge. You are the people who solve that. You're the people who see the opportunities. You are the people who seize those opportunities. You are the people who expand those opportunities for the rest of us through the jobs you create, the suppliers who you recruit, the customer base which you expand. So please keep going, keep pushing, and we are rooting for you. We thank you for remaining resilient and pushing in your business. We will be back next week with the Business Recovery Series every Thursday at 9 o'clock. You will receive a recording on your emails within the day, I think. And we will also tell you about the session we'll be having next week. Have a blessed time, and may we all keep winning in our businesses.